Whether you like it or not, there's no denying that the New York Yankees are in the conversation for the greatest franchise in sports. Since the organization was founded, they've been MLB's biggest draw. There are millions of fans across the globe that love this organization to death, and millions more who hate their guts, and want their fan base to suffer as much as humanly possible. Though it might be tough for some people to admit, this is great for the game, because for a significant portion of baseball history, all eyes were on them. MLB does not care why you're watching, they're just happy you're watching. And based on the Yankees' history, it was pretty hard not to. From generation to generation, some of the greatest players ever have spent their prime years in a Yankees uniform. The Yanks have appeared in roughly 1/3 of every World Series ever played, and odds are at one point they were responsible for breaking your favorite team's heart in the postseason. But we haven't seen this version of them in a while. In fact, since their most recent championship in 2009, the Yankees and their fans have been the ones getting their hearts broken, as they haven't appeared in the Fall Classic since. With the final month of the regular season right around the corner, the franchise is on pace for their worst record since 1992. This season has been an absolute disaster, and we're going to break down how one of the most prestigious franchises in sports has become an absolute mess. Before I get into it, welcome to the War Room. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight to it. This is my breakdown of the Yankees franchise from 2009 to 2022. I'll cover what happened in each of these time periods, what went wrong, what they should have done, and why the team in 2023 is a joke. Following World Series number 27 in the 09 season, the Yankees roster still had a couple years of competitive baseball left. The core four, which included Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte, and Mariano Rivera, was a key piece of the Yankees dynasty in the late 90s and early 2000s. But with them winning a fifth ring together in 2009, there were questions about whether or not this would be their last one, since all of them were getting up there in age. As great as it was while it lasted, it was abundantly clear that their best days together were behind them. Alex Rodriguez wasn't much far behind, as 2010 would be his age 34 season, but the team still won 95 games and made it to the ALCS, where they would lose to the Texas Rangers in 6. Believe it or not, this wasn't the worst thing to happen to the organization that year, because 3 months earlier, owner George Steinbrenner passed away at 80 years old. Steinbrenner bought the team in 1973, and certainly had an interesting way of doing business, to say the least. The guy simply loved to win. He expected his players and coaches to share the same passion that he had, and if he felt someone wasn't doing as good as they should, they were fired right away. Simple as that. In fact, in his first 23 seasons owning the team, the Yankees changed managers 20 times. Billy Martin alone was fired and rehired on 5 separate occasions in the 70s and 80s. Steinbrenner might not have been the most liked man in the world, but to him, it wasn't about being liked. It was about winning. His mindset set the tone for the entire organization, which is a big reason why the team found so much success. Obviously, his passing is out of anyone's control, but after George died and his sons took over, there was a culture shift that would negatively impact the franchise for years to come. Things just weren't the same without him, and I'll explain more later in the video. Despite winning the division the next 2 seasons, the Yankees got bounced in October by the Detroit Tigers both years, and there's something important we should mention here. This is the average age of the Yankees from 2010 to 2012, compared to the team they lost to in the postseason and the team that won the World Series. It might not seem like a huge difference, but when you see where they rank amongst the rest of the league, it puts into perspective just how old the Yankees were compared to teams a level higher. Given the fact that the players they used to rely on were either retired or nearing retirement, in hindsight, the front office should have promoted some sort of youth movement to preserve the future. Which brings me to my next point. Brian Cashman. A lot of Yankees fans have recently voiced their displeasure for the general manager, and for good reason. Because when you look at his track record as GM since he was promoted in 1998, it's really not that great. Yes, the Yankees won it all in 98, 99, and 2000, and made the World Series in 01 and 03, but how much did Brian Cashman really play a role in that? I mean, he was handed one of the greatest teams this sport has ever seen, with some of the best players in the league in their prime, and if we're being honest, who do you think was really running the show? George Steinbrenner, or this dude? A 1998 article by Buster Olney points out that Bob Watson, the GM before Cashman, resigned from his position because he was, quote, tired of his role as George Steinbrenner's often powerless general manager. When Cashman replaced him, he became the second youngest GM in MLB history. Sounds to me like Steinbrenner just wanted someone that wouldn't get in his way, which certainly played a role in why Cashman got the job in the first place. I think his first real test as GM came after the 2012 season, where it was clear the team might need to think about a potential rebuild. Problem was, Cashman never knew how to actually do that, and with George gone, he never had to be disciplined for what was about to take place. Over the next 4 years, the team was still above average, but significantly worse than years prior, as they missed the playoffs 3 out of 4 of these seasons, and the one year they made it was a wild card game loss. 2017 is where things turned around though. Aaron Judge burst onto the scene as he became the franchise player this team was looking for. He won Rookie of the Year and probably should have won MVP, as the Yankees lost in the ALCS in 7 games. Though the Yanks came up short, fans were hyped for the future. All they had to do was build off this roster they had, and they could be back in the World Series as soon as next season. So what did Brian Cashman do as a result of the team's best finish since 2009? He fired manager Joe Girardi and replaced him with Aaron Boone, who has 0 coaching experience. Again, maybe not the smartest move looking back. But the addition of 2017 NL MVP Giancarlo Stanton, which happened shortly after Boone was hired, overshadowed everything. Just like that, it felt like the old Yankees were back. However, they still couldn't get over the hump in October in the years following, losing to the Red Sox in 2018, Astros again in 2019, Rays in 2020, Red Sox again in 2021, and the Astros again in 2022. From 2017 to 2022, the only team to eliminate New York and not make the World Series that season was the 2021 Red Sox. So it's fair to say the Yankees were losing to the best teams in the American League. But why did these teams succeed when the Yankees didn't? The answer to that, just like any other rebuild, is drafting and development. Despite the controversy they've been involved in, the Astros have done an incredible job building through the draft. Their young core of Altuve, Bregman, Correa, and Springer were the reason why they won. All 4 dudes have made multiple All-Star games in an Astros uniform and made their painful rebuilding years worth it. The Red Sox drafted future MVP Mookie Betts while developing All-Stars Rafael Devers and Xander Bogaerts right along with him as international signings, while the Rays, who are a little bit different due to their analytical approach, still had Cy Young winner Blake Snell as the team's 2020 ace and future All-Star Randy Arozarena in the lineup. The Yankees, however, have been one of the worst teams in baseball at drafting and development. Since Cashman became GM in 1998, these are the most valuable position players the team has drafted in terms of WAR: Brett Gardner, Aaron Judge, and Anthony Volpe. That's right. Anthony Volpe, who is a rookie this season, is already top 3 in WAR for position players drafted by Brian Cashman since 1998. That's how bad his drafting has been. Judge is the only true star New York has drafted and developed themselves. Other than him, there's been nobody. You could maybe argue guys like Robinson Cano or even Gleyber Torres, but the list certainly ends after them. One other thing the Rays, Red Sox, and Astros have in common is they all knew when to rebuild. Their front offices put their pride aside for a few seasons as they looked ahead to the future. The Yankees never did that. It was never one step back to move 3 steps forward. It was always, let's try to win now even if we clearly aren't as good as other teams. Remember earlier in the video when I showed how old the Yankees were? Well, in the years they should have been rebuilding and getting younger, they were as old as ever. And they didn't start playing better until, surprise, surprise, they got younger. Their elimination in 2022 was bad enough as it was, but it was how they got eliminated that really put fans over the edge. After barely squeaking by the Guardians in the ALDS, the Astros dominated the Yankees in the ALCS, sweeping them in 4 games. In the offseason following this embarrassing, disgraceful nightmare series for New York, Hal Steinbrenner extended Brian Cashman for 4 more years and decided to bring back Aaron Boone as manager, meaning Joe Girardi got fired in 2017 for losing to the Astros in 7 games, but Boone kept his job and Cashman got an extension after getting swept in 4. It's almost like they're trying to go backwards. I think these offseason moves set the tone for the type of year 2023 would be, because as I record this video, the Yankees are playing their worst baseball in decades. At 60-65, literally nothing has gone right for them this season. They sit in last place in the AL East, 10.5 games out of a playoff spot. They're currently on a 9-game losing streak for the first time since 1982, and their 30-year streak of seasons finishing above 500 is in serious danger. This is where their 2023 offense stacks up against everyone else. Honestly, it's incredible they're only 5 games under 500 considering how garbage these numbers are. In Aaron Judge's prime, years where the front office should have been building around him, the players on the roster are worse than ever. That's unacceptable. 2023 has been a complete wash for the Yankees. A franchise that was once known as the Evil Empire has now become one of MLB's most laughable franchises. There's a lot that's gone into the Yankees' downfall, from awful moves made by the front office to players not panning out. And it's unclear what the future has in store for this organization. But at least for now, as we sit here in 2023, it appears that the so-called empire of the New York Yankees has fallen. If you were in control of the Yankees, what changes would you make? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I've been making MLB content like this all season long. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.